Hello. My hair is getting long. Look at that. That is wild. How are you guys doing? Let me go ahead and bring chat over to the correct side. We got some stuff to do today. We got some things to talk about. Before we get into that, how are y'all? Got something in my teeth. Oh well. We're doing good. How's your Wednesday morning, afternoon area? Is that for it's a Whiskey Dingo emote. How's the Veet for charity event going? I didn't realize that Desert P was part of it until I was told as much the other day, and I was like, okay, let's raid him. You know, because it was like between him and Andre, and they're both doing charity work for the same charity. And I don't even know what charity it is, I'll be honest. I would assume. Actually, I have no idea. Music's a tad loud. Sorry. Let me go ahead and just turn that off. Who's Andre? Andre is the wolf furry that I sometimes raid. Andre Lemorov. They just put out a Resident Evil 1 through 3 on GOG. Oh, nice. Got a game of Warhammer in the other day. Played with the Dread Mob detachment. First time using it. Maybe last time using it because it was bad. I ran just sort of a sampler platter list of everything, and it was fine. You know, like, I just don't know where to go with my list at this point. There are people using and carrying small amounts of weed is no longer a crime in Brazil. That is progress. That is something. Now, like, I assume they've determined how much a small amount is. Go brush your hair. Dude, it is brushed. It's just doing a wilding. I don't know what's going on with it today. Like, the gel is just, like, working. 40 grams? Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a small amount. Whether or not the cop's gonna sit there and weigh it and then maybe throw a little bit extra he had from another thing. That's another thing that could happen. Please don't call chat slurs. How goes the waking up? Yeah, no, I'm still on that. I'm still waking up. This last couple of days we're good. I think I wasn't there for one of them. So there's that. So I went to my local, like, you know, place that I get gummies, and like the gummies that I like, they're going out of production. So the woman there was like, well, you know, I take one of these every night to go to bed. And I'm like, all right, well. And she's like, but just so you know, they're a little bit stronger. And I'm like, all right. So I look at the dosage, and the dosage says 1,000 milligrams per gummy. For reference, the one I take to go to bed is 300. I opted not to take a whole one because that seemed like a bad idea. I instead took half. That ended up being a bad idea. My throat's a little scratchy still because I threw up. Half is 500. I could have sworn I took a whole one. That was on Monday. I'm coming around. I'm getting better. I've never been so high that I've thrown up before, but I did that. And that was partly because I couldn't determine I had a hard time determining between my different senses and my thoughts, because I realized that, and this is very much high talk, that thinking and seeing are kind of the same thing when you think about it, because like it's just your brain interpreting the stuff that it's experiencing, right? So then I forgot how to see, which was horrifying. And I didn't have the ability to differentiate sight from thoughts and sounds. And I was listening to this audiobook that I've been listening to, luckily written in the second person. Yeah. So I couldn't figure out, like, I was literally just watching YouTube shorts just to ground me in reality, because I was like, that is a thing that's happening. So I'm still a little fucked up from the half gummy I took on Monday. Yesterday I was just gone to the world. Like I was not even there. Which, I mean, it sounds fun. I wish I had experienced it. Yeah, that was not a fun experience. And I didn't just throw up once. I threw up several times, which is why my throat's all messed up. But anyway, another thing I did on Monday was to go, and I went to a local coffee shop where they do gallery showings. And I realized that I would like to be in that gallery. And to do that, I need to make sure that I actually make some pieces. And so I did some research. To try and figure out what do I need to do? Almost got to experience CHS. Don't know what that is. What is CHS? Cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome. A condition led to repeated and severe bouts of vomiting. Yeah, no, that was me. Because I did throw up multiple times. Like, it was just like, I don't know, I didn't even stand. I don't remember standing up. I just did a flip out of bed. I went from laying on my back to being on my, like, hands and knees on the floor throwing up. I don't know how, like, it was just like, whap. Like, I don't even know where the, like, in-between frames were for that. Oh, that's only if you throw up every time you... Oh, thank God. No, that was a one-off, and due to the dosage, for sure. So I don't recommend that at all. But anyway, on to things to actually improve my life. I have a checklist of things that I would like to do in order to improve my life. And one of those is to get integrated with the art scene up here where I live now. I know how to get involved with the local, like, activist community to some degree, because there is, like, a bi-monthly meetup of that. So that's awesome. But I was thinking, okay, so I need to do the art thing as well, and I want to play more music. I didn't get a chance to this morning because I had a bunch of chores to do, and there's actually, like, I need to go to the store, but didn't get a chance to do that because that boy there is currently looking at something outside, was very insistent that it was boy time. Thank you for the 49 months of support, Suggestive. It's very cool of you. Thank you so much. Boy time is important. And he was like, I need this today. And I'm like, look, I gotta do the boy time. How's it going, Tropical? So I went to the local place. I looked at how much the current art is selling for. And the person is selling all of their art. Like, they are able to, which is wild because it's not very good. They're just photographs, but okay. I think it's the price point. The price point is like $40 to $60, which I think is actually probably the right price point for art in general nowadays. But I think that a canvas the size of the one behind me or the ones on the wall, I can't charge that. Photography and prints are art in of themselves. Agreed. These are just bad. These, it's not that, like, photography is bad, but the pictures are just like whatever, like you'd find them on Instagram or just like on stock websites. They're not good. Boston, thank you for the 6 months of support all at once. So that's 11 months in total, and they're all tier 3. Thank you so much. So I'm thinking, okay, so how big do I need to make my things in order for that to be the price point that I can do? And small is the answer. Very small. 5x7 is what I'm going to go with. I need to do a bunch of these. The space has room for 9. I was able to get 9 canvases for $5 for a pair of 3, so it was $15 for all of them, and that is pretty good. So I'm probably going to shotgun out a whole bunch of paintings over the next little bit as I try and make sure that I can actually do that. Local art store does not have pre-stretched in one of the locations, which is wild. This is a pre-stretched canvas, you know. It's already on the wood. You can and probably should actually go and stretch your own canvases because it's cheaper in the long run. You just buy a bolt of canvas and you buy the wood, and then you cut out the wood to the right length. You kind of make an interior frame, which is what this is attached to, and then go from there. So in order for me to be able to make a painting that is in the $40 to $60 region, it needs to be this size. These are also incredibly small, which means that there will be a lot of dead time as I wait for something to dry. Even with acrylic, as fast as acrylic dries, it's not gonna be that good amount of time. They were also selling them with frames, which is gonna add a little bit of price to it as well. So I've got a couple of different options on things that I can paint as far as that goes. That's either going to be, you know, just like kind of generic scenery kind of things, which I could do, or cats. Cats are kind of what I want to do. I had a weird dream in which you started a stream saying Vinny exploded today and then ended the stream without elaborating. Was he dead? Was he okay? So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to batch through them, especially because they're all going to be in the same style and same aesthetic. I got just told I'm old in a meeting for knowing ABBA songs. Yeah, when did ABBA come out and when was ABBA relevant? I'm actually gonna confirm what they just find out. So we're bringing batching to main. Yeah, I could probably do about 3 in a batch. I've got 3 sets of 3 that I need to do. We could do that as a thing. And I think I could probably film them as if I'm batching. So I wrote down, I did the thing that if I'm gonna do a series, I was like, okay, come up with an idea for a series of paintings. Now let's draw little thumbnails for all of them. So I did that, got a little bunch of thumbnails of the cats in different poses. I need to go find reference images for all those and then go from there. And that is an art thing that I need to do. And I might hold off on that until I'm feeling 100%. But then I'm looking at my... Wait until these youngsters start protesting they're not old when they start creeping towards their 40s. Yeah, I know. Like, we're old. Just roll with it at this point. Oh, I guess I should ask. Okay, so does anyone know anything about Tumblr? Like... Because that Anon is back. So here's my question. Am I allowed to, if I choose to block an Anon, does it block all Anons or just the one Anon? Yeah, it's this Anon. Do you want me to just read this? First off, they led with a post that said, "What is your opinion on the language of Hebrew existing?" Which... That's not gonna go well. If you blocked an anon, it used to tell you. That's not a good thing to ask. I kind of got just like put out. Like, I don't really have any strong takes about the Hebrew language because, like, I don't speak it. I don't know anyone who speaks it, really. So it's just sort of a language that exists out there. Sort of like Swahili. It's like, got no real take on that. You know? Like, alright. It doesn't affect me in any way. Do a Latin only stream? My Latin is not good enough for that shit. I took Latin in high school and middle school because I was homeschooled. And do a Hebrew only stream. I don't think that would work. Again, I don't know how to speak either of those languages. Like, do a Swahili stream only. Speak caveman. I barely speak English. So yeah. They asked, what was it? Oh, right, yeah, no, they asked why I don't just talk to Vinny about why he is not openly being pro-Palestinian instead of just not having any opinion at all. So like, I don't know, because maybe he doesn't want to go on about that shit. So, I just go ask him yourself. Like, it's not my response. Keeping track of what the fuck is going on with Vinny is not my thing. He goes and does his thing. I do my thing. Whatever. I think, you know, if you want Vinny to be more open about his opinions about stuff, right. So I was just like, go ask him yourself. So here is Anon's take, and I'm going to read it word for word with side-eyeing as I go. You know why me, or this is an Anon, and I want to block him for this because there's some shit in here. You know why me or anyone else can't ask Vinny or anyone else about Palestine? Because I know they'll have bad takes. Well, then why do you... What? So first off, what? Like, why are they asking then? To have Vinny talk about his takes on Palestine if... Like, if we just assume for a second that Vinny is, like, gonna say something fucked up, then why would we even bother asking him? Well, it's not even a risk in my career because, like, if I go, hey, Vinny, I think you should talk about Palestine, you know what Vinny's gonna say? Nothing. He'll look at that message on Discord and go, I'm not dealing with this bullshit right now. I'm not gonna message him back. And then he just won't. Because, like, honestly, we're all living our lives, and who wants to deal with random bullshit that someone you know is sending you? Like, I'm sure he already is aware of 10,000 people messaging him that. If he's not saying anything about it, that's his choice. Right? So anyway, your friends aren't as politically knowledgeable as you. I'll take that. Yeah, actually, that might actually be true. Vinny would never take the side of Palestine so he can appeal to the right-wingers still in his audience. Plus, his view of Israel is probably shaped by his Catholic upbringing. Because, you know, when I think about Vinny, I think about how Catholic he is. Like, I think about how often that Vinny brings up his Catholicism and how he much loves that. Oh God, stop replying. Yeah. How do I make it so he doesn't... I guess I've just got to, like, turn off Anons for a bit. I think that's probably the correct thing. Wasn't even aware the whole Palestine-Israel thing is a left versus right thing. It's really not. You can block single anons. That's all I really want to do. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Trying to remember if there was get some new one. Anyway, his take was get some new friends, new ones, he says, or live with the knowledge that they're Zionists, despite the fact that, like, they haven't proved that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to block this one person, hopefully. Yeah, he 100% just wants to start a fight, and I'm like, I don't know if I can just, like, block. But apparently I can just block that one person. Yeah. Like, I'm about politics. I don't think that is hard to figure out, but I just, I'm not going to tell my friends and coworkers essentially what to do with their lives. If they don't want to talk about shit, they don't have to. Maybe they do want to create a neutral space where people could just, like, not deal with this shit, you know? Like, the world's a tough place. Also, I have to turn this thing on, like, wavy mode, else it looks like I'm jerking off all the time. Which, I mean, I'd love to, but, like, we don't have time for that. Are you familiar with the Bible tabletop game? The world is a vampire set to drain. But I gotta say it, drain. So that's how you know you're old. If you got that reference, you're old now. Oh, they're secret destroyers. What? Oh, yeah. Did you hear about Japan's NHK is required to give all gubernatorial candidates airtime on TV? All the YouTubers that I watch that have interest in politics have bags under their eyes. Yeah, I mean, based on the fact that you're here, you're following a bunch of lefty types, and we're all kind of scared and tired and doing our best to try and make the world a better place. I think that part of it, you know, people who do stuff like, you know, climate change denial are doing it because it's too stressful to actually think about. It has warmed up again today. It is in the low 80s here in Maine. So used to saying Austin, Texas, man. It's fucking weird. Yeah, I mean, most people just send me, like, pictures of, like, cats, or send me weird ass. Like, there's this one. Would you rather be a Nosferatu or a hairy wolf man? No tail, no wolf features, just an old movie werewolf. See, that's the kind of thing that I have my Anon thing open. Like, for questions like that. That's a good Anon. I think I'd like to be a Nosferatu. Although they straight up die in... I mean, you could still have a job as a hairy wolf man. Like, and, like, if I turned into a hairy wolf man... Yeah, if you could just Nosferatu, you would be alright. Yeah, old school movie werewolf versus Nosferatu. Yeah, is Harry Wolfman much different than me? Not really. You know? I would have to shave my face. There is a guy, there's like a family of people who have like What if you were the creature from the Black Lagoon? That would be rough. That would be rough. Because, like, I mean, I guess you're hot, but you're hot to, like, monster fuckers. And I guess that means that my wife would become one because, like, well, I mean, both me and my wife are on the same page that, like, we'd be together no matter what. Like, I am effectively pansexual for my wife exclusively. Like, I don't give a shit what she is. I love her regardless, you know? I love my wife even if she's a worm. Or a little mouse, like someone asked the other day. I'm wife sexual. My wife sexual. Would I love her even if she was a worm? Spelled with a Y-R. Oh, I guess it's just a Y. Yeah, I would. What if she changes genders? I would still love her even if she was a man. That's what I'm saying. Like, no matter what, I'm with my wife now. Like, we just click together so easily. It is like life is so much easier with her, you know? I was looking at we were talking about something that involved like dating the other day, and I was just like, man, I am so fucking glad I'm not doing that anymore. Like, dating my wife is the easiest shit ever. Because, like, we just hang out, you know? And maybe we go hang out somewhere else, but we just hang out, you know? It's true. Whatever they say about, like, you know, just marry your best friend. Like, yeah, no, that totally works, man. That totally works. We both have, like, a similar amount of social battery. I'm a lot more extroverted than she is, and I think a lot of that is just like forcing myself to be extroverted through streaming. To be able to just like say stupid shit in front of people and not give a damn is a skill set that I've slowly had to grow and worked into. But yeah, let's see. What are we gonna do today? We got the fella sheet to work on, though I did kind of already work on it a bit. Yeah, I kind of did that when I was in the coffee shop thinking about stuff. Not really any of our business, but beyond happy for you. Thanks. So we got options on things we do today. We're not doing Elden Ring. Look into Action Park. You guys want me to look into Action Park? Because I know a little bit about Action Park. I think Baltro is going to be put on hold for a bit because we went hard on that for a bit, and I could watch other things. I did play Home Safety Hotline, unfortunately. Action Park? Okay, cool. Yeah, so let's do Action Park then. Yeah, let's watch The Defunct Land on it. All right. I don't think I'm even going to change what the name of this is. I'll change the name of it on here. Investigating Action Park. I did watch this, but I transitioning into the same kind of streamer as Fat Nuts. I realized that a lot of the kind of streams that I don't enjoy are AAA games and trying to stay up to date and on top of AAA games. And if that's what I'm not enjoying anymore, then why the fuck am I doing this? Right? So I'm just gonna enjoy other stuff. Jackalope Jinx, thank you for the 6 months of support. Analog horror collab with Fred again when? I don't know. Fred and me are on slightly different time things. Let me pull up. I literally do not watch any game streamers anymore. I mean, like, it's kind of like that now. I like Vigia. Don't get me wrong, but like the kind of only games that I'm playing right now are Helldivers, which like I know I'm an asshole for doing, and I would love to give you some decent reason on why I feel like it's okay to still play that game despite the fact that the developers, it's not even the developers, Sony is being a sack of shit about it because they realize they've got a golden egg, so they got to fuck it up, you know? The distributor, yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I have absolutely I have no good reason that I should still be playing that game. I already bought it, I know, but like it sucks for everyone else who also bought it but now can't play it because they can't access the Sony thing or whatever. It's like I don't have a good defense on why I'm doing it. I'm still playing it. I just enjoy the game. Here's the Defunct Land video, and I feel like it's where we start. We can watch the Crux Files one as well, but this is the...
Hey, with Priceline VIP Family, you can unlock deals 5 times faster. You don't even have to be an actual family.
Oh, I'd be the dad.
I'm the dad.
Hey, physically,
sometimes you just need a shoot game. So I'm playing Helldivers, and I'm also playing, what's the name of that game? Slice and Dice.
Anna Gilligan is there this morning. Hello, Anna.
Hi, guys. Yeah, I think you're seeing some guys jump off the Tarzan jump here at Action Park. It's been closed since 1996. They reopened it on June 14th. I'm here with the owner, Andrew Mulhavel. He's also the son of the man who founded it. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for coming out. What a day we have. It's beautiful here at Action Park.
So I got to ask you, because Action Park got a bit of a reputation. Some people got injured.
That was 30 years ago. The world has changed. I mean, when my dad started the park, he was the guy inventing the rides and bringing inventors in. Now it's highly regulated. Everything's engineered.
I love Action Park because it's so beautiful.
Suggested by Gay Green Alien, based. Defunct Land does amazing content.
The year is 1976. Gene Mulvihill, the head of entertainment company Great American Recreation, has added a new attraction to Vernon, New Jersey's Vernon Valley Ski Resort. 2 brand new alpine slides were installed to keep business up in the off-season. An alpine slide is a one-person cart ride, in which the rider rides down a hill in a smooth track. The rider has a brake lever.
Has anyone ever been to Action Park, I should say?
Between their legs, giving them complete control of their speed. The attraction had become popular for ski resorts in the late 70s, and Vernon Valley Ski Resort's Alpine Slide was advertised as an attraction for all ages, claiming, "We've had grandfathers and we've had kids of kindergarten age coming down our runs alone." I also have a picture showing a mother controlling the sled with an infant in her arms. It's that easy. After the success of the slide, Mulvihill went forward with his plans to expand the ski resort into a water park during the off-season. He added 2 water slides.
I mean, it's not a bad idea to make it a water park during the seasons where you can't because of snow, right? Sure, you could only do each of these different types of parks in different seasons. Just make them different season things.
A softball field, a tennis court, and a swimming pool were added shortly thereafter. The Vernon Valley Summer Park was rebranded to Action Park, a thrilling amusement park where you control the action. More slides and rides were added, and they began their big marketing push to draw audiences into their new water park.
Just go to Action Park. There's no other park like it.
When it's hot out, this is a great place to spend the day with your family. There are lots of big things for little kids to do. I love Action Park because it's so beautiful.
It's like coming to Broadway. It's wonderful.
Race like a pro. It's great. These are the most amazing rides in the world. I love it here.
There's nothing in the world like Action Park.
The park was revolutionary. Yeah. Not only was it one of the first water parks of its kind in the United States, but it also marketed itself as the biggest.
Both people, it was eventually two people in chat were like Broadway, like the way she pronounced that. Drive a race car seems like a bad idea.
55 rides, 40 of which were water slides. Action Park was split into 3 themed lands. The first was... Motorworld consisted of 3 types of attractions: land, water.
I should say I did go to Schlitterbahn as a kid. A lot. Let's just see if there's anything that happened in Schlitterbahn as of recently. Oh, a child died. Verrucht, the name of the ride, was closed in 2016 after a fatal incident involving the decapitation of Caleb Schwab, the 10-year-old son of Kansas state legislator and later Secretary of State, Kansas. Yeah. So anyway.
Water and air rides. On land was the popular battle action tanks. For an additional fee, guests could ride inside tanks equipped with tennis ball cannons.
That's awesome.
The goal was to shoot the other tanks in the caged area on one of their targets, disabling their cannons for 15 seconds. Those that chose to ride the tanks were allotted 5 minutes to do so, and those that did not want to ride could pay to use a stationary cannon from the outside. Maintenance employees attempting to fix broken down tanks would be subject to fire from the rowdy guests, making the attraction a nightmare to work at. The other 2 land-based Motorworld attractions were the Lola Cars and the Super Go-Karts, both of which were kart race attractions. The Super Go-Karts were driven on a small loop. The karts themselves were designed to max out at 20 miles per hour, but the employees found that sticking a tennis ball in the governor device allowed the kart to go as fast as possible, with the new maximum speed being around 50 miles an hour.
Jesus.
Head-on collisions frequently sent guests to the hospital, and the fumes from the engines overwhelmed riders at times. The Lola Cars were mini open cockpit race cars driven on a longer track, and they cost an additional charge to ride. Their maximum speed could also be tampered with by park employees. These were also used after hours by the workers, sometimes being taken off the track and driven on the nearby highway. There were 2 water rides in Motorworld. The super speedboats were driven in a small circle around an island in a pond that also had a large population of snakes in it. The guests would often attempt to bump nearby boats, as if they were on Motorworld's other water attraction, bumper boats. These were boats placed in a small pool and were designed to withstand guests crashing into one another. These were known to leak
body
gasoline,
armor,
which once required guests to be examined after too much fuel leaked on their skin. The boats were also incredibly small, and riders with long legs had to position their feet off the side of the boat to fit. This led to injuries and bone fractures after collisions. Finally, Motorworld had 2 airbase attractions. One was Space Shot, which was a typical drop tower ride and was one of the safest rides at the park, given it was only open for Action Park's last operating year. The second air ride was another upcharge attraction, Slingshot, which was also fairly safe. This ride was a common amusement park and carnival ride, in which guests were shot up on 2 bungee cords and flipped upside down as they flew through the air. There's no doubt
that you always kind of assume that these things are like safe and won't kill you, because there's got to be some sort of legislation behind it or whatever. The answer to that is no. The answer to that is no. Even if there is, turns out you can still get decapitated if you're a 10-year-old. So there's always a risk to them. And what I've always found with rides is they suck ass. It's sort of like stepping into a death trap and then going, this probably won't kill me. But the excitement is, I don't know. Am I wrong for assuming that is exactly what every ride like this is?
had its dangerous attractions, but this is just the beginning of what
I just don't
Action
enjoy
Park has
them
in store. Another section
because
of the park.
you either have to assume that you are going to die, which sucks, or you aren't going to die, which also sucks. Because, like, what's the point of this ride if there's not, like... What's the point?
Many non-water-based attractions were located in their own section of the park, sometimes labeled the Alpine Center. These included the aforementioned Alpine
crippled.
slides, as well as a bungee jump titled the Snapple Snap-Up Whippersnapper Ride. Originally having 2 jump stations and then later 4, guests could jump off the tower for an additional fee. A skate park also had a short run at Action Park. It was poorly designed, as it was surrounded by concrete and had uneven edges, which led to many injuries during its existence.
What the fuck?
Interestingly, Action Park also had an attraction entitled the Action Park Gladiator Challenge, partially based off of the popular American Gladiators TV show. This included obstacle courses and jousting matches against the Action Park Gladiators. Finally, Action Park had its own monorail called the Transmobile. This went to the ski lodge, the Alpine Center, and to Motor World. So far, Action Park has proved to be dangerous, but where are the absolutely terrifying rides? Where are the rides that are so insane that their mere existence is unbelievable? Moreover, where are the water slides? This section put the action in Action Park. Waterworld had it all. It was home to the tidal wave pool, a 100 feet by 200 feet pool that could hold anywhere between 500 and 1,000 people. The pool's floor was slanted, and the further a guest went in it, the deeper it got. Waves went 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off, and they could reach a height of over 3 feet. This was challenging for swimmers of all skill levels, as the pool was hard to read and the fresh water was more difficult to swim in than salt water. A dozen lifeguards were on duty at the pool, and they would have to save around 30 people on a busy day. The Tarzan swing was a heavily advertised attraction in which guests would swing on a 20-foot cable over a pool. This spring-fed pool was so cool that lifeguards would have to rescue guests that could not swim after the shock of the cold water. This was also a popular attraction for men to pull down their pants or women to pull up their tops for the line of people to see. The appropriately named Aqua Scoot gave guests a sled, with which they would slide down an assembly line style roller coaster, hurtling them toward a shallow pool that they would skip across. If the guest was not in an ideal position, it would get caught under the water, sending the rider crashing forward.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that freshwater is harder to swim in than salt.
Long, but a third slide was eventually added. The diving cliffs had 2 jumping bases, one 23 feet and the other...
So in Austin, there's a place called Blue Hole. If you're in Austin, I wouldn't recommend going right now because it's probably packed, but it has a diving cliff like this, and if you're waiting in line, yeah, people do take their tits out or whatever. In fact, the first time I saw boobs was in person at Blue Hole, because people are allowed to topless sunbathe there, which is, as a teenager, fucking great.
Are 18 feet tall, with the pool below being 16 feet. The pool was...
I should mention that the water at Blue Hole is cold as fuck.
Also for non-jumpers, some of which were unaware of the cliffs, which resulted in collisions. There was only one lifeguard on duty, who had to work extra hard to make sure that no one was at the bottom of the pool. The super speed water slides, also known as Geronimo Falls, were a pair of high-speed vertical water slides. One of them was steeper than the other, and both were dangerous. Near these was the safer Kamikaze,
see, I think
which
that's
was a more
part of it calibrated. Is I live in Texas.
The kayak experience was pretty self-explanatory, and used underwater fans to simulate water rapids. This was dangerous, but that goes without saying at this point.
What the fuck?
A similar ride, the Roarin' Rapids, allowed guests to ride in a 1 or 2 person raft down a similar river. The Surf Hill had riders slide down a multi-laned, multi-hill slide on a mat. Riders could easily cross over to the adjacent lanes and cause collisions. And the 7th hill, nicknamed the Backbreaker, had an additional hump that would send riders flying, resulting in injury. The Colorado River Ride was another raft ride, this time allowing up to 4 people, and it went through the wooded area of the park. At one point, the riders would come to a fork in the river and had to choose between 2 paths. The first path took guests under a waterfall and a series of tunnels. The second path included a waterfall and another fork, with one path being steeper than the other. The ride also included a foot-tall jump that would allow riders and their raft a short airtime. The Aerodonium was a skydiving simulator that caused injuries when guests would try to stop their falls with their arms. Waterworld also had a variety of other typical water slides and pools that were less notable, but there is one in particular that has yet to be mentioned. This is the attraction that made Action Park the most infamous, the Cannonball Loop. A tubed water slide with a vertical loop, similar to that of a roller coaster. It was rumored that during the testing of the attraction, Mulvihill offered $100 to employees who were willing to try it. Test dummies apparently came out of the loop without their heads. When it was open, guests would be weighed, hosed down, and given a set of instructions to decrease the possibility of injury. A hatch was added to the top of the loop to assist stuck riders that could not make it all the way through the slide. Many guests that completed the loop would come out at the bottom, suffering from bloody noses or other injuries, either from hitting the top of the loop or the impact on the way down. The Cannonball Loop was indicative of a larger issue with Action Park, as many of the other attractions were poorly crafted by designers that were less than engineers, and most were designed to minimize cost rather than maximize safety. The rides became even more dangerous when paired with the fact that the park sold alcohol at many of the convenience stands, often to minors. There was even a microbrewery near
I forgot
Motor
about
World.
so much of
Many
this.
of the guests visiting the inexpensive park came from low-income areas and did not have the necessary swimming skills to navigate some of the attractions and
Like,
pools.
I'm gonna be real with you. Like, if your boss is like, "I'll give you $100 to ride this ride," and you go, "Well, hold on, what's going on with the ride?" Oh, like, it's nothing. Just every single time we throw a dummy in, it just gets decapitated. So we're like, probably good enough to test on real people at this point. So you want $100? Like, no. Can you move the subtitles? Yeah, I need to, because like it's getting in the way of other stuff
Park
that he's
also
saying.
heavily marketed to Spanish populations, but there were no translations or translators for the guests when they visited, so explaining safety instructions was virtually impossible.
You already know that Action Park has the most innovative and exciting rides. The Alpine Slide, Grand Prix race cars, and spectacular water rides. But Action Park means more
You can
than
move
just great
subtitles
rides.
only while they're
It
on
means
screen,
super
which is kind
live
of annoying.
shows, fantastic summer festivals, and scrumptious food and drink, including an authentic German brewery. Come to Action Park, because the rides aren't the only thing that's great. Labor Day Polish Festival, September 6th and 7th.
The majority of those employees were teenagers and were not equipped to handle the rowdy guests at the park. So on any given day, you could have an overcrowded water park filled with drunk teenagers that couldn't swim, riding shoddily built attractions supervised by teenagers that may or may not be able to communicate with them. It is no wonder.
Great. Oh yeah.
What happened next.
Palestinian
On July
Child
8th,
Relief Fund
1980,
is a
a
very
male
good
employee
charity.
was riding the Alpine Slide when his cart went off the track. He hit his head on a rock during the crash, killing him. He was only 19. 2 years later, on July 24th, 1982, a 15-year-old guest was overcome by the waves of the tidal wave pool and drowned. On August 1st, a mere week later, a 27-year-old guest was riding the kayak experience when he was trying to re-enter his kayak.
Reinstall your U-block
When
origin.
doing
I had to
this,
turn
he
it
made
off
contact
because
with
it's
the
not
live
working.
wiring that powered the underwater fans. The electrocution
makes it
sent him into
worse.
cardiac arrest, and he passed after being rushed to the hospital.
Oh.
2 years later, in 1984, a guest died on the Tarzan swing after a heart attack, supposedly due to the unexpected shock from the cold water. That same year, on August 27th, a 20-year-old drowned in the tidal wave.
When it comes to the cold water thing, like I did jump into the water at Blue Hole, and yeah, if you go from like Texas heat to actually like almost ice cold water, that's not good for you. That's very not good for you.
Pool. And on July 19th, 1987, another guest drowned there, giving it the nickname the Grave Pool. These deaths are tragic, and often overshadowed by the lunacy and legacy of Action Park. Interestingly enough, Action Park was able to
there's the
avoid
Polar
many
Bear
lawsuits
Club
with these
that
deaths and
does
many
it
other
during the
injuries,
winter.
due in part to its reputation, and also the lax regulations New Jersey had for amusement and water parks. Great American Recreation was even able to expand the Action Park brand to other parts of the country, opening Pocono Action Park in Tannersville, Pennsylvania in 1980, and Action Mountain in Pine Hill, New Jersey in 1984.
Get wet at Action Mountain. Feel the thrill as you zoom through the black hole. Spin and splash on our bumper boats. While the kids play in our fun-filled kiddie area, cool off in our huge swimming pool, or race around the Grand Prix track. Get
wild.
Three of our action-packed rides at Action Mountain in Pine Hill, New Jersey.
It's awesome.
Pocono Action Park had many repeat attractions as Action Park, and was closed in 1991. Action Mountain ran into some financial difficulties with the IRS and the town it was located in, and was closed in 1986. So why did the original Action Park close? While Action Park and Mulvihill were able to avoid lawsuits with many of the accidents and deaths, the 2 deaths in 1984 stemmed cases that rightfully plagued the park with a variety of legal problems. Mulvihill eventually pled guilty to 5 charges of insurance fraud. He and his associates claimed that the park saw over 1 million guests a year, and therefore the death toll was comparatively low. The local ER, on the other hand, said that they would have to treat 5 to 10 guests on some days. In response to the high amount of guests visiting the hospital, Action Park bought Vernon, New Jersey new ambulances. Despite all of these issues, the downfall of Action Park wouldn't come until 1996, and it was actually due to Great American Recreation's financial issues and not the park itself. On September 2nd, 1996, Action Park ended its final season, still with the hope that it would reopen the next year. However, Great American Recreation's bankruptcy made it impossible for Action Park to continue operations, so it didn't reopen. After this, the ski resort and Action Park were handed from investor to investor, undergoing renovations for 2 years before reopening in 1998 as Mountain Creek. Safety was a priority under this management, and a valiant effort was put forth to distance Mountain Creek from Action Park's reputation. However, in 2010, Mountain Creek underwent a bankruptcy of its own, and the water park and ski resort was sold to the Mulvihill family. 2 years after this, in 2012, Eugene Mulvihill passed away, and his son Andrew Mulvihill took over ownership.
I forgot some of the details in this. They're just like, fuck it. It doesn't matter. Like, people will probably not die. They'll be fine. Just fucking, I don't know. If they get hurt, they get hurt. It's on them.
Of the park. 2 years later, in 2014, Mountain Creek was rebranded back to Action Park. The park reopened many of its classic attractions, and started construction on new, terrifying ones. The Sky Caliber was another attempt at a 360-degree vertically looping water slide, although it used technology to enhance safety. From my knowledge, it is yet to open at the park, and there's almost no information on its status. The new Action Park tried to use nostalgia to draw guests back for 2 years, before in 2016 it was renamed back to Mountain Creek, in order to once again get away from the negative connotation of Action Park. Early this year it was announced that Johnny Knoxville would be producing, writing, and starring in a film inspired by Action Park, but it was not shot on location. Death is heartbreaking, especially in environments designed for happiness and joy. Despite 6 people losing their lives there, Action Park is not remembered for its death toll. It is remembered for and by the kids that grew up with it and survived it. It is seen as a place where the quote-unquote popular and brave teens hung out. The fact that it was referred to as Traction Park or Class Action Park doesn't matter, because its inherent danger is more of a fond memory to
even if, okay, Johnny Knoxville says, no, I'm not going to go on the rides at Action Park, probably tells you something, man.
The majority of its visitors. The burns, bruises, and the fractured tibias were a rite of passage for its former
guests. I'm actually surprised it was only 6.
Because you survived a tame roller coaster at Disney in California or at Universal in Florida? Well, welcome to Vernon, New Jersey. Were you able to survive Action Park?
Thank fuck. And then we have, you know, the outro stuff. We don't really need to see that.
When the sawdust settles and the engine roars.
Okay. Update you, Origin. How to update. Why don't you just update on your own? Version 1.58. Any videos of Blue Hole? I mean, it's not really an action park or anything. Not the one in Wimberley. The one in Austin, Texas. Why can I not find pictures of it? Is it because they don't allow cameras because titty? Jacob's Well? No. I just... Blue Hole Park? Austin. I mean, like, I don't want the other ones. Is it in Georgetown?
It's everything you wished for.
Turn it back on. Go to the gears. Settings. Filter lists. Update now. Can't do that. Remove it and re-add it. All right, give me a minute, y'all. General extensions and themes, uBlock, remove, and then uBlock helps if you spell it right, but there it is. Add to Firefox, add, allow to run in private windows, sure. Make sure it's uBlock Origin. I have uBlock Origin, no worries. All right, there we go. Did y'all see the cat? I was looking for, it's not like a park in like a this kind of thing. It's like a park in the like
1978 and 1997.
This is from Crux Files, who only has 1.8 thousand subs. I'm actually gonna go ahead and link them just in case if this video is good, so you can go sub to them, because that is ridiculous.
There was a theme park like no other.
There's nothing in the world like Action Park.
An infamous experiment that injured thousands, hospitalized hundreds, and killed half a dozen.
The most dangerous theme park of all time. The owner was like, I'm not going to hassle the kids with a bunch of rules. I'm just going to leave safety up to them.
Eugene Mulvihill's Action Park was a hugely popular and much loved New Jersey attraction, remembered fondly for its experimental and thrilling rides, but also for ending in bankruptcy, scandal, and tragedy.
It also looks like, hold on. You can see like straight lines in the piping here, right? Like, so there's like very definitive stops and starts to each part of the ridge. So like, it's not like a smooth curve around. So like when you go through, you're going to hit each jaggy along the way. I don't know about that, man.
In bankruptcy, scandal,
it was just made with
tragedy.
pieces of PVC pipe and glue
over there. As you can see, it was like extreme sports. They nicknamed it Traction Park.
A slight alteration of its official slogan sums it up quite well.
Where you're the center of the
Action Park, where you're the center of the accident. In today's video, we're going to dive into the strange world of America's deadliest amusement park.
Yeah, legal does not mean safe.
On the 26th of May 1978, businessman Eugene Mulvihill stood admiring a creation he hoped would transform his business forever. Gene, as he was known, owned a company called Great American Recreation, which crucially operated a ski resort in the Vernon Valley and Great Gorge skiing areas of Vernon Township, New Jersey. Gene really wanted to address an inevitable difficulty of running a ski resort business. During the summer off-season, when the snow has long disappeared, your resort turns into little more than a regular grass hill, and as the snow goes, so does a significant majority of your business. Ski resorts had for some time been experimenting with opening summer attractions to make the land bring in revenue during this off-season, and Gene wanted to do the same. Following the example of other resorts, in 1976 he installed a 2,700-foot alpine slide down one of the steeper trails, and by 1978 added 2 water slides and a go-kart track. The result was a collection of attractions that became known as Vernon Valley Summer Park, which would open that May. This made it one of the first water parks in America, and over the following 2 decades would grow to 75 separate rides under its rebranded name Action Park. But as well as its massive size, Action Park was unique in one very particular way. As his son Andy Mulvihill put it, Gene didn't want to do the same old shit, where you just get strapped into something or it twirls around. He wanted to take the idea of skiing, which is exhilarating because you control the action, and transfer it into an amusement park. There's inherent risk in that, but that's what made it fun. This simple philosophy of putting the guest in control made the park hugely successful, but would also become its biggest controversy. Action Park's first ride was coincidentally one of its all-time most dangerous. The 2,700-foot sledding track was constructed out of a mixture of concrete, fiberglass, and asbestos. Patrons would slide down the winding track on a small sled using only a handbrake to slow their descent. Injuries were atrociously frequent as patrons were sent down without much prior warning of the high likelihood their sled could jump the tracks on tight corners if they failed to apply the required amount of braking or lean to distribute their weight properly. Owing to poor maintenance practices, the sled's braking system would really only offer 2 settings: extremely slow and a speed described by a former employee as death awaits. The result was patrons usually wearing only bathing suits and most definitely without any helmets or protection would regularly be thrown off their sled, suffering severe abrasions and broken limbs. Between 1984 and 1985, the slide alone was responsible for 14 fractures and 26 head injuries. In fact, it's reported that at the end of a busy day, staff would find certain sections of the slide coated in a reddish sheen of blood and shredded skin. Staff kept a magic potion of 70% alcohol and 10% iodine on hand to spray down severely carpet-burned patrons. An employee was ejected at such a high velocity that the resulting injury gouged the back of his legs and butt so badly that he needed 200 stitches. And finally, just to add insult to injury, because the alpine slide traveled directly under the park's former ski lift, those riding would routinely get spat or urinated on from above. The slide was located at the Alpine Centre, one of the 3 main sections of Action Park, the other 2 being Motor World and Water World, which housed the vast majority of the park's rides. The nearby skateboard park was closed after only a single season due to inadequate build quality. The skating bowls were separated from each other by pavement, which in many cases did not match the height of the bowl edge, meaning boards would get stuck on the lip. A former employee commented it was responsible for so many injuries that we covered it up with dirt and pretended it never happened. And in fact, some of the rides were so dangerous they never even managed to open to the public at all.
Which is wild to hear that the ones that we know about are the ones that, like, yeah, no, these rides are fine.
The Bailey Ball was such an attraction.
The fuck is that? There's no way that's not dangerous. I don't know what I'm looking at yet. I mean, I know I can just hit play to hear, but like, my bet, based on the fact that it has wheels all over it, is that you get in it and then it's rolled down a thing, and ideally doesn't go on its top. But the fact that it has scrape marks on the top, it looks like something out of Chernobyl. Like, this thing looks cursed as shit.
essentially a large steel sphere with industrial roller wheels bolted all around the outside, creating what can only be described as a replica World War II era anti-submarine mine. The idea was a human rider would be secured inside and rolled downhill on a PVC pipe track. However, when the state inspector arrived to see the ball in action, the summer heat had expanded the piping, causing the ball, with a man inside it, to fly off the tracks, rolling down the steep slope uncontrolled and traveling straight through the parking lot across Route 94 and finally coming to rest in a swamp. It's said that the inspector watched silently as the ball came to a rest before promptly leaving without saying a word. Management abandoned this masterpiece.
Thank you. I was ready for them to go, well, he didn't say no.
After the first season, in 1978, Gene sought to expand his park, believing the best way to do this was, quote, by legalizing drunk driving, in a collection of attractions known as Motor World. The first ride of note here was the Grand Prix track, featuring 3/4 size Formula One races that could travel at over 50 miles per hour. If that wasn't concerning enough, the park operated an alcohol drinks bar only a few meters away.
Okay, so let's fix Action Park. First off, no alcohol. Okay, let me tell you, alcohol and heat do not mix. Alcohol and water do not mix. The reason alcohol and water do not mix is that you will fucking drown. Like, it's a lot easier to drown when you're bad at swimming, and you become much worse at swimming when you're trying to, you know, fucking when you're drunk. You can't do it. But okay. I just ruined Action Park. No turning off the safety switches. That's another rule. This vehicle can only go up to 20 miles an hour. That is fast enough. Honestly. Like, what is 20 miles an hour in non-American? 20 miles to kilometers. 32 kilometers per hour. And they were like, nah, that's too slow. Let's shift it up to 80 kilometers an hour. Yeah, I know. It was fast enough at 20. And then they were like, let's make it go faster. Yeah, they fixed it so that way it could go 50 miles an hour. Which again is like 80 kilometers an hour, which that's car speeds. A slow car, but a car.
Patrons would ride these races drunk and often underage using a fake driver's license. One employee actually broke into the park in the middle of the night, stole a Lola Racer, and disabled its inbuilt speed limiter before taking it for a joyride down Route 94. Police reportedly pursued the employee at over 90 miles per hour for several miles before he was apprehended. Similar to the Lola Racers were the super go-karts. Drivers were not required to present a license here, which would not be so concerning were it not for the fact that the inbuilt speed limiter could be disabled by wedging in a tennis ball, enabling patrons to fly around at speeds reaching 50 miles an hour. A particularly unique injury that would occur here is that because
also, like, bruh. If I'm handed this cart and they go, yeah, this is it.
Because the carts ran on petrol engines, the fume inhalations would regularly make patrons sick, and sometimes the gas caps would fly off the carts as people drove along, splashing out the liquid fuel and hitting drivers further behind in a kind of Mario Kart style attack. The super speedboats suffered a very similar issue. A tamer attraction nearby called bumper boats took the idea of hitting cars into each other and then put that on water. The problem was not with the bumper boats ride itself, more that patrons would treat the faster super speedboats as bumper boats.
No, these also had the problem where you would get your long legs crushed. I remember that bit because I'm tall and I always think about long leg problems.
smashing the flimsy boats into each other at excessive speeds. Anyone too tall would have to dangle their legs over the side, and you can imagine just how regularly this caused lower extremity fractures. The engine fumes also coated the lake water in a kind of oily sheen, burning and irritating guests unlucky enough to fall into the water after a high-speed collision. Petrol-induced delirium was the reward for anyone who managed to stay inside the boat. And finally, another noteworthy attraction for Motorworld was one of the park's most popular attractions called Battle Action Tanks, featuring little mobile tanks that fired.
See, this sounds rad. Like, this should just be a thing. Like, I don't see any problems with this aside from, like, yeah, this looks cool and fun. The problem is that when it breaks, everyone shoots at the employee. Maybe have it so you can have a disabling switch to make it so that way people can't shoot them. And if you shoot the person and you're in the tank, maybe make it so that way you get kicked out. Captus, thank you for the 10 months of support. That's very cool of you.
Balls from a cannon. If you shot another tank's hit point, it would temporarily disable movement, and static cannons placed on the arena's perimeter also allowed guests standing outside to fire in. This particular attraction was one of the staff's least favourite to guard because of the high likelihood of getting pelted with tennis balls that would fire at over 90 miles an hour while trying to perform maintenance in the area. But
144 kilometers per hour. Why is it doing that? That is an unnecessary speed to be hit with.
Finally, the most loved and most infamous section of rides.
That sounds lethal? Yes. What is the speed of a paintball gun? Well, a paintball gun also shoots paintballs, which are... Honestly, you could squish one with your fingers if you really wanted to. Like, you have to put a little bit of work into it, but you can squish them, and they'll pop. Tennis balls, designed not to explode on impact. How fast? I mean, it depends on the PSI that you set your thing to. Do paintball guns shoot? Sure. 300 feet per second. Or 90 meters per second. And that's the average, give or take. Paintball fields usually restrict it to that range. Smaller field might restrict it down to 250 instead, which is less than 90 meters per second. That's a great question. How fast do tennis ball pitchers machines go? There we go. Okay. They can get up to 80 miles per hour, but it doesn't seem like that fast to me. Says someone complaining about the speed of theirs. So they tend to fire closer to like 75 to 80, which is already really fucking fast. But note that is less than 90.
To an area known as Waterworld. Undoubtedly the most dangerous, these were the rides that would ultimately lead to the tragic downfall of Action Park. Probably the single most recognizable of all these rides was the Cannonball Loop.
Yeah, you can very clearly see in this image that is so segmented. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, yeah, that's gonna be a problem in of itself. Like, not the loopy loop part of it in of itself, but like okay, idea. You make this loop, right? Okay, here's my idea for Action Park. You make this loop, fuck it, make it more fucked up looking, you know? I don't know how. Make it so that way this is more vertical, right? Yeah. All right, here's my idea. Here's my plan on how to fix Action Park. All right, here's my ride idea. All right. Works like this. All right. So you got your loop-de-loop and you make it super jagged like you've already got it, where it like very clearly should not. Let me just use a. Yeah, let's use a hexagon for it. Yeah. All right. So you make your jagged ass like thing, right? And then you have it come off of a. What? Why are you still attached to me? Stop that. You make it come off of a drop that's even more sheer, like this. We still running on sexy asbestos and fiberglass combo? Yeah, 100%. Yes. And then, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do a second loop. Yeah. Here's my ride idea. Okay? I'm gonna make it twice as dangerous. And this one is gonna be smaller because that's how loops have to go for some reason. All right, here's my ride idea for the new action park revamp that I'm gonna do. It's made out of asbestos. At this point, you're just reinventing the euthanasia coaster, right? Yeah. No, we'll call it that. The euthanasia coaster. We'll advertise it super hardcore, right? The euthanasia. Get on this thing and you might die. Made with real asbestos. All of that jazz, right? Then never, ever allow this ride to exist. Like, you have it. You build this. But you just never... I know the euthanasia coaster is a thing. I know. I'm just saying we call it that. Because it's the same thing, but with water. Never open the ride. Always go, it's down for maintenance. Every single season. It's always down for maintenance. But people will still show up to your park because they think that this ride will be online at some point. Okay? That's the trick. Is you make it so that way it's there. And you make it so that way it's central to the park so people can see it. And they just like, they walk past and they go, holy shit. It's just a sculpture, functionally speaking. And yeah, you throw a mannequin through it and you're like, yeah, no, we're still working on fixing that up. And just like make it so that way the mannequin is like super explodable and bleedable. And go, yeah, I'm sorry, it's still down for maintenance. Come back next summer. And every year you do the same trick. Nothing illegal about making us a functionally impossible to run. Yeah, it's a functional sculpture that is never ever used for its reported use of being a ride people go through. Yeah, actually, you know what? That would be perfect. On this, right? Inside this one, put a net, right? Have a net that's hooked up to some buttons that when the net is like used, like when it hits the net, it causes a button to get pressed, right? And those buttons release buckets of blood here, right? And then that just goes through the rest of the ride. Now it's all covered, so you wouldn't see it until here. And it's just a bucket of blood gets just shifted through here. You'd get smacked with false advertisement. No, you would have the safety commission come by and you would just tell them straight up, hey, we don't actually want to run this ride. Let me show you why. And then you just yeet the guy through it like you would normally. Don't turn on the bucket of blood thing. Just let it go through. The mannequin will get fucked up and they'll go, yeah, you can't run that ride. Okay, oh, fuck. You still advertise it. You still say it's a ride you have in your park. Don't say you couldn't ride it, because that's against the ride. Or against the law to say that. No, you advertise it. You absolutely advertise it. You go, home of the euthanasia slide. You talk about all the rides it has. And you say, home of the euthanasia ride. Yeah, make it so it's got like cheese grater bits. I don't care. Yeah, we got like this ride that you can get on. We got this, we got that. And then we have the euthanasia slide. But like no one actually uses it. No one actually can ride it. And you never said in your advertisement that people are allowed to. And you just keep running tests on it every year. Eventually we'll have it where it runs, man.
Fully enclosed water slide with a unique, completely vertical loop at the end. You tend not to see these at water parks for the perhaps unsurprising reason that shooting people out of a vertical loop is not necessarily...
Because this park has a reputation of being crazy dangerous. So fuck it, just make a crazy dangerous ride that no one rides.
Conducive to their survival.
It's not
The
a
ride
Huckster
itself was
move.
built kind of by the eyeball, using some nearby car factory workers who had recently been made redundant as labour. When the first test dummies went down, it was reported that one came back missing its head. To convince real humans to go down, the park offered employees $100, and eventually Eugene's son Andy was the first person to do so, but in full hockey protective gear. This ride suffered from an inevitable problem of physics. If a human body was either too light or too heavy, they often wouldn't have the right momentum to safely clear the loop and would get stuck at the top, crashing down on either side. Nosebleeds and facial and back injuries were extremely common, so much so that the ride was only open for a single month before the state's advisory board forced it shut, considering it too dangerous. Some early riders were even coming back with lacerations to their bodies, and when the ride was closed to determine what caused this, teeth that had been knocked out of previous riders' mouths were now lodged in the foam-lined interior walls, slicing open the next riders as they passed through. But the cannonball loop was by far from the only crazy installation. The Tarzan swing was a steel arch suspended from a cable over a spring-fed natural pool, and have the right momentum to advisory board forced it shut, considering it too dangerous. Some early riders were even coming back with lacerations to their bodies, and when the ride was closed to determine what caused this, teeth that had been knocked out of previous riders' mouths were now lodged in the foam-lined interior walls, slicing open the next riders as they passed through. But the cannonball loop was by far from the only crazy installation. The Tarzan swing was a steel arch suspended from a cable over a spring-fed natural pool. Patrons waited in long lines for the chance to swing out and jump off into the water below. Because this spring was fed by mountain water, the temperature rarely exceeded 50 degrees, a fact most only came to appreciate as their bodies immediately went into hypothermic shock upon entering the water, where they would need
lines. You're standing out in the heat waiting for it, and then you jump in.
Immediate rescue after being unable to pull themselves back out. Another danger was if you held on for too long, you risked crashing into the concrete platform at the far side of the pool, something that broke many ankles and toes, but that's just a skill issue really. In fact, unsuspected danger was a prevalent theme of Waterworld. At the Aquascoot, patrons would skim across...
I love this guy, he's just like skill issue, I guess.
A shallow pool of water only slightly deeper than a puddle in places, using a plastic sled in the same manner as skipping a stone over a lake. However, if you lean too far forward or back, the edge of the sled would bite into the water, catapulting the rider's head directly forward into the shallow puddle, resulting in serious injuries. Even if you avoided this, often the attendant would have already let the next rider down, slamming straight into the back of you. The collection of raft-based artificial whitewater rides were also notoriously dangerous. Roaring Rapids was built to look like a natural river, complete with jagged rocks and sharp overhangs that fractured femurs, collarbones, and dislocated knees and shoulders. One of the courses featured a toilet bowl which flushed riders down into a dark tunnel.
Because people want to go on dangerous, crazy rides. Like, I guarantee you, like, because I remember every time we'd go to, like, a roller coaster park or whatever, like, people want to go on the crazy dangerous one to say, yeah, I went on it, I'm brave. So building fucked up dangerous rides that no one's allowed to ride is awesome. Like, literally go, we can't let you ride that, we can't get it to pass, we're trying to get it so that way it can pass basic regulation. But it just doesn't pass regulation yet. So, sorry. Why are cities ultimately stupid and boring? I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's illegal to come up with a set of rides that just don't work, that you don't let people use.
A tunnel lined with foam padding that would often tear away from the walls.
Stop with the foam!
Narrowing the hole and causing human riders to clog the toilet. Attendants would then have to quickly turn off the water supply to stop those congested patrons from drowning. Surf Hill was another infamous attraction. Patrons would slide down a wet sloped surface on foam mats at high speed, landing in a very shallow...
It's illegal to advertise decommissioned rides? It's not decommissioned. It was never commissioned in the first place. It's not ready to go yet. Yeah, it's the whole, like, if this were, you know, actually dangerous, it wouldn't be allowed. Yeah, you'd be like, well, it's scary, but I mean, it's an amusement park, so it's supposed to be. It's fine.
The barriers between lanes were minimal and people frequently collided with each other.
Again, you'd have to advertise it as a show instead of a ride. As long as you use verbiage that never... Yeah, exactly. I never said it was a ride. I'm just saying it's a thing that's in the park. And when someone asks to ride it, go, I'm sorry, we can't let you ride it. And then every day, as like a show, we just launch a mannequin down there and show its shredded remains at the end and go, sorry, man. Still don't have it down. We're working on it, though.
Other on the way down or at the end. The 7th lane was known as the backbreaker due to a special bump midway intended to allow jumps and splashdowns into a larger puddle. It also had a reputation for causing serious injury, but both employees and spectators much loved...
That's not a ride, that's a water feature. Yeah, it's a water feature until we let people use it. There's nothing illegal about making dangerous water features. As long as you're not supposed to get on it. Like, literally, just have, like, a series of rides that are always not on.
Of this ride for one very particular quirk. You see, Surf Hill was especially good at separating women from their bikini tops. Women would stand up at the end of the surf and, disorientated from hitting the plastic ridges at high speeds, wouldn't realize that they had emerged significantly less covered than they began the ride. A nearby snack bar was installed specifically to take advantage of this view.
Come on.
However, a single ride stood out from all the others. A ride so deadly it quickly became known by employees as the Grave Pool. The tidal wave pool opened at the start of Action Park's 1981 season. The pool was 100 feet wide and 250 feet long and could hold 500 to 1,000 people at once. This was a seriously large and deep wave pool. The waves were generated by underwater machines for 20 minutes at a time with 10-minute breaks and could reach a whopping 1 meter high. The comparable comparative calm of the water in break periods contrasted with the severity of those waves in a relatively deep pool that got deeper towards the machine end, meant that patrons would often get sucked much deeper into the pool than they intended, only realizing their mistake when they were in over their depth with nowhere to stand up. Because of the unrestricted entry, the water would often be covered in a dense packed layer of floating rings, which would keep people trapped underwater if they got swept down. The dangerous conditions would often cause people to crowd at the relatively few ladders to escape. 12 lifeguards were on duty permanently, and on high traffic weekends, as many as 30 people would need to be rescued from drowning. For comparison, a regular pool lifeguard will usually make 0 or a single rescue per year. In fact, when a consultant lifeguard arrived to make recommendations to improve safety, he was so overwhelmed by the severity of the
Seems like this video is plagiarizing the documentary. I was gonna say, this seems very similar to what we had already seen. But also, it's not the documentary, so we can watch it without getting copyright claimed. So, one crime enables another.
He simply disappeared and never
came first. This one is actually fairly recent. This one came out 7 days ago.
Returned. And out of the hundreds of near drownings, on 3 separate occasions, the wave pool would prove to be fatal. In July of 1982, a 15-year-old boy named George Lopez would drown. 2 years later, 20-year-old Donald DePass, and finally, in July 1987, 18-year-old Gregory Grandchamps. These were not the only deaths at Action Park. The first reported death was in 1980, when 19-year-old George Larson Jr. was riding the Alpine slide after hours. His cart jumped the tracks, and when ejected, George's head struck a rock. He died from his injuries 8 days later in hospital. Then on the 1st of August 1982, only 2 days after the drowning of George Lopez, 27-year-old Jeffrey Nathan was riding in an attraction we actually haven't covered yet called the Kayak Experience, which, despite sounding and being relatively tame compared to some of the other attractions, featured a hidden deadly secret lurking under the water.
Oh, this is the electrocution
Kayak Experience
thing.
was an artificial whitewater kayak run powered by underwater fans that agitated the water to provide the current. Frequently, kayaks would tip over or get lodged among the concrete rocks, meaning patrons would have to step out of the kayak in order to right it again. When Jeffrey stepped out, his foot touched a grill covering one of those electrified fans. A 19-ampere current passed into his body and caused him to go into cardiac arrest. He later died in a nearby hospital. And finally, sometime during 1984, a man died after suffering cardiac arrest, allegedly caused by the shock.
It's AI generated, by the way. Like, my brain, like, picked up on that. I was like, hold on. Something's wrong. And at first I thought it was just that this is kind of curved outwards, and I'm like, maybe that's right. And then I started noticing shit, like this symbol is wrong. And this is nothing. The light bar looks wrong, sure. Yeah, there were just like elements of this that look a little too AI, and that's when I started looking around. Anyway. I think I should be allowed to make rides because I have better ideas than Action Park. What is this website that I was sent? It's called ridesbay.com. It's a Dutch website that, fortunately, this is translating for me. You can buy rides here. So this one is a Ferris wheel that's 70 meters. And, oh, okay. Here we got 330 euros. Is this 1,000? 330,000 because European people like to use periods instead of commas? Free shipping? Yeah, I'm not doing it unless if I get free shipping. Sound system, no sound. Ticket booth, no ticket booth. Design review. Spare parts, no spare parts. Carousel looks like new. It is only played in a shopping mall, semi-transportable, can be transported in 2 semi-trailers. And it looks nice. Yeah, that looks great. I don't know a fucking thing about rides, but what other rides you got? No, I don't want to start advertising. I just want to look at other rides that are, oh, free ads. Pull-Up Monster. Cummins Locomotive. God, these are expensive. Used amusement park equipment. Dude, we can get a choo-choo. Like, this thing's probably pretty safe, right? It's just a train? How do you fuck up a train? Dude, I want a train. 85,000 euro. That's a lot, isn't it? Oh. It's $90,000. Five people died on that train. Train has been stored with care since it stopped operating in 2009. It has only 1,000 operating hours and is in immaculate condition. It'd be perfect for an amusement park, train brewery, vineyard for tours, corn maze, farm tours, private railway. Private railway. The possibilities are endless. This train is 36-inch gauge, comes with the engine and the tender. It was built like Cummins. I think that like that standard 36-inch gauge, because trains have the same width as the horseback carriages used to put them together, if I recall correctly. Are you gonna go full Neverland Ranch? Yeah, I don't have 85,000 euro. I have no euro. I don't have $90,000 either. If I had $90,000, I would not be using it on this. Make a GoFundMe. Allow me to buy a train. Just send me money on Ko-fi so I can buy trains. Can you sort cheapest to most expensive? Well, I don't want to create an account because I don't actually want to buy one because I have no ads overview. Ooh. Churro thing. Okay. Object name or date sold. Okay, so it doesn't really have like price. Well, what is the most expensive? Ooh, 4 electric go-karts. That's actually pretty cheap. 7,000 each or euro or American? Ghost Rider. Roundup. Dude, I could make a really fucked up amusement park. I could just buy a bunch of rides and then not do maintenance on them. I can be a huckster real life. Space Jam? Dark Ride 4. Gefister Park? Geister. Okay. RidesUSA.com. Dude, we could buy so many rides. Now delivering 1 trailer, giant wheel. Oh. Train. Look at that bootleg. Amazing. There's a Santa one. Dude, this thing sucks. These are all rides that you can like put on a... Yeah, these are carny rides. Like, you can just like, you can take these on the go. I never trusted these. Like, there was a carny that used to come through in Austin. I never went on it. Dragon Wagon. Okay, just for the name, what is it? Oh, it's just a stupid looking dragon. Man, I don't have enough money to be a loser. My wife was showing me something about a website called knit.com or knitting.com. It's a real website, still exists. And the people who run it don't know how to knit, which is a thing. For those of you that don't know much about knitting, let me husband-splain this to you, because like, I don't know that much about it, and people who are into knitting and crochet are going to be like, you're getting this wrong. I'm doing my best to remember what my wife has told me. Okay. So, knitting and crochet are expensive. Yeah. That's like kind of a thing about them, is that like the tools you can pretty much reuse forever, though there are different sizes and that matters. Welcome by Chitty Chatty. Hobby is expensive. You could make a crocheted pair or a knit pair, and they are different. Crocheting is with like a hook and you pull the string. I don't know how to do it. Knitting, however, like you kind of just juggle the turns between strings. Again, I don't know how it works specifically, but I get a general idea that's the idea anyways, that you're making knots, and either they're going to be knits or purls. Those are the two types of stitches you can do in both, and you get patterns and you get aesthetic of what any of those work and look like based on doing that, right? Once you know those two stitches, you can do anything with them. There's different styles of knitting as well. There's continental style that my wife does, which she only recently learned as part of when she was working at a small crochet store, which I should go ahead and shout out because they're fucking awesome. If you live in the Austin area, there is a knitting place called Gauge, Gauge, I believe. Like gauge, if you're knitting, you need to get gauge. I don't really know what it means, but it's like the number of stitches per something. The owners are the coolest fucking people. When Tilda lost her job, the one that was really shit, they yeah, you could hear the cops outside. Don't worry about it. They're not coming for me yet. Do they have a website? I don't think they do, but like we were fucked, right? Like it was like, if she hadn't been able to find this other job with Gauge, we were fucked, because like she went from not having a job to, you know, or having a job to not real fast, because she had to quit because they're basically going to force her to quit, right? Her friends at Gauge gave her a job. It wasn't many hours a week. It was what they could do, and it allowed us to get the fuck out of Texas. So huge shout out to Gauge. If you want to see the trans flag that my wife made for them for their balcony, you can go by Gauge and see it. She crocheted it for them. Though they keep getting stolen, their hope is that it's getting stolen by the local homeless community and not assholes. But yeah, they specifically commissioned her while she was working there to make multiple flags And they were just like, we'll just make another one. Yeah, we moved out of Texas because it was awful. So hopefully that, like, yeah, this Gauge yarn. Yeah, that's them. Go give them some love. But yeah, yarn is expensive. Is something you need to know about yarn. And so in order to make a sweater, you're going to spend like $100, $200 easy. So like, why the fuck would you do that? And the answer is because knitting and crochet are punk as fuck. It's all about, it's about DIY. It's do it yourself, literally, as a hobby, right? It's the most punk shit ever. And so it attracts a crowd that would gladly go to, like, do that. Yeah, you can automate knitting, but you can't automate crochet. It's like literally impossible. But yeah, they have an actual website. Yeah. Honestly, knitting people are cool. So I bring up the fact that DIY is a part of it and that punk rock kind of sentiments kind of reign supreme because there's this website called knitting.com, and it was bought by some dude bros with a shit ton of money and no common sense. And they were like, who knits? Grandmas exclusively, right? No. The idea that the only people who knit are old women was started by people wanting to make it so that way people wouldn't make their own shit. That is just incorrect. A lot of people are like much younger. Like the average person who knits is not an old woman. Like it has that reputation, but they are not old women. It's an incredibly inclusive group. It's one of those things that it's like, this is not a community I'm part of, but I fucking respect the hell out of, is the knitting and crochet, like the fiber arts community. It's also like not fast fashion. Anyway, knitting is fucking base as hell is what I'm trying to say. But the people who run knitting.com were saying some wild shit, like only old women do it. We're going to be able to revolutionize this, whereas we couldn't do that with fishing because they pretty much figured out the tools for that, and you know, people who knit haven't figured out like good tools. And it's like, there have not been new inventions in knitting for like years. The most recent one was circular knitting needles, which is like, it's like two knitting needles that are held together with a string. This is important because then you don't need to have those long ass needles because you don't have to try and keep all of it on there. Again, knitting.com is a website run by people who know nothing about knitting, who have never bothered to knit, whose only research into it was one website. And it was some grandma's blog, and they're like, yeah, this is all the research we need to do. And they still spent $60,000 on the thing. They spent $60,000 buying the domain knitting.com, and they have a they have a podcast where they were talking about, yeah, we don't know what we're doing, but we're still going to make it. We're going to make a website that is content driven, but we won't have any Asian people because that's bad for analytics. And it's like, bruh, what? Why would you say that out loud? They have a podcast, yeah. Here, hold on. I bet you if we Google it, we can find it. Knitting .com. Knitting for beginners, knitting.com. Knitting.com, it is capitalism and sexism at its worst. Oh, it was 80,000, excuse me, not 60,000. Yeah, the thing is, like, there's a lot of Asian content creators in the knitting space. So, like, that's absolutely not true. And yeah, the whole idea of indie dyed yarn is super fucking important. How long have you been knitting? Approximately 1 month now. We have some people on our team who are lifelong knitters, though. However, we both know more than about casting on and purl stitches than 99.99% of other middle-aged men. Men knit as well. I don't, because my wife does. And I'm not just really interested in it at all, but but yeah. So anyway, I don't know why I brought this up, aside from saying that knitting.com sucks ass. And yeah, 2 tech bros bought knitting.com and it did not go well. Yeah, it turns out that, like, the knitting community, being that it's so DIY and all of that jazz, still hung up. Why was that brought up in the first place? Because they have one of those, like, we'll teach you how to, like, 4X your business kind of, like, podcasts. And they were like, yeah, Imcom Crew is the name of their podcast, where they say just stupid ass shit. They're planned to fill knitting.com with knitting articles and videos using SEO-friendly funnel to domain funnel into the actual business of selling Amazon or knitting products on Amazon. Yo, by the way, if yarn is too expensive, I can hook you up with a sheep guy. They started multiple different websites, colorit.com, which sells adult coloring books, and treadmills.com, where he sold treadmills, and ice wraps, where he sells ice wraps. They have unsophisticated competitors. The space is mainly grandmas with a little blog that she's run for 20 years. Yeah, people trust. So basically, here's what's happened. They were so incredibly shit at reading the room and realizing that maybe they just don't know anything about this. And before, like, bothering to learn anything about it, they just decided to talk shit about a group of people that are incredibly, like, together and, like, with each other on shit. And, yeah, it didn't go well. And so now their idea was to buy it at 80,000, then flip it eventually once they get flip it once their business grew big enough. They're not going to be able to flip it now because everyone knows that knitting.com is the shit website. So like the domain is like, if you look up knitting.com, you find the website obviously, but you also find all of this shit that people are saying about it. Also, they didn't camp the domain of knitting.com on Twitter. Not affiliated with those two guys. I just wanted to grab the Twitter handle before they did. They fucked up. They fucked up every element of business. And the thing is, it's still gonna work because a majority of people don't know shit about knitting. And they're gonna click on to knitting.com to learn about it. And you can go to their website, knitting.com. It looks like ass. Because it is. It looks a lot better than last time I looked at it. But this whole debacle is fucking insane. They did hire people, but a lot of the people that they hired, they were hiring at what was their phrasing? They wanted to hire people a fair rate when reasonable, which is that's corporate tech bro for. Also, I need to restart YouTube or I bet they will use AI art. Yeah, that's like a whole thing with when reasonable. So what they mean is that they tried to outsource as much as they could, and then they paid a reasonable price when they had to. Yeah. I can't wait for them to make, yeah, I mean, there are already AI made crochet and knit patterns, which do not work because AI doesn't know anything about knitting. It just knows what knitting patterns look like. In the same way it does a tech brief or like a lawyer brief or something, it just makes shit up. I bet you they also, yeah, no, they did do NFTs. That was, believe, one of their previous things. I'm scared of them making sewing patterns as well. I would not be surprised if that's not already a thing. I saw a YouTuber try AI crocheted patterns once. Why are so many tech bros out of touch with reality? It's literally a case of more money than common sense. Like, this is definitely me not being an expert in knitting. But I hope that you understand I love and listen to my wife as much as possible when she's talking about this stuff. And try and comprehend what she's talking about. So, it's the money brain, yeah. They didn't realize that people would be going after them. AI generated, yeah. And again, it's the knitting and crocheting and the fiber arts world is like only accepts the existence of capitalism as far as that it has to in a capitalist world. I think that if they couldn't, or if they were allowed to somehow not deal with that shit, they wouldn't. Like, they have to because people need to pay rent. But would you call it tight knit? I would, yeah. Like, whenever there's like shit going on in the knitting community, I do like to listen to my wife talk about it because it's like This is not my scene, but God, it is close enough, you know? Like, they're based as fuck, is what I'm trying to say. Are you seeing that big music labels like Sony and Warner are making big moves against AI music? That's surprising to me that they're going against it, because that seems like their jam. But I guess it's that they don't want people stealing from them. They just want to steal from others. Gigi Mars, thank you for the 35 months of support. I'm happy to see you too. Welcome by. It's trained on their copyright. Yeah. Again, I don't have a problem with AI in general. Like generative AI, which is what we're talking about when we talk about AI disparagingly. I have an issue with the way that the data set is sourced. Like, that is a majority of my issue with AI. 150,000 per item infringed. Oh. Hello there. That's amazing. That's great. I like that. I honestly am slightly curious because a lot of the AI generating tools say, oh, well, it's a black box. Like, we don't know what all it's been trained on. If they don't know what it's trained on, how do I know that they haven't trained it on my art? How do they know that hasn't been trained on my art? Because if they don't know, like they say, couldn't I sue them for using my content? Yeah, no. One of the people at that came by for like a Stitch night called my wife a Warhammer widow, which is apparently a term. If you can get proof that they did, what I'm saying is I don't need proof that they did. I don't need proof that they used. Well, no, what I'm saying is I think that they did, and I cannot prove it because they are withholding evidence by saying that it's in a black box. I'm saying that these images that it can generate are close enough to something that I've generated that it seems like that they're stealing from me, but I can't prove it. And they're actually going against Discovery by not giving me access to that. You see the new Warhammer balances? Yes, yes. And I don't know if anyone actually cares to do it. You can't prove it, and they can't prove it. They'll keep the black box claim. Yeah. So can I say, hey, they are actively going against, like, they're holding stuff back from deposition. Can we find them in contempt of court? Like, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like a thing that you could do. Civil case only needs a preponderance of evidence and not beyond reasonable doubt. Right. And I feel like we could get a civil case through. If there was a law, they had to list everything that was trained on, but then they could just lie. Legally, they don't need to know what their crap is trained on. But what I'm saying is that they're holding Yeah, that's contempt of court to withhold the evidence. I don't know. It's just something I've thought about. Yeah, it is convincing a group of 12 people that know nothing about me or art or anything that maybe it did that. I'm just saying, like, I think that every artist should do that because if that actually works. Some companies are allowed to lie in court. I mean, yeah. Yeah, you can just straight up lie too. I'm thinking they could get caught by using or being negligent and not recording what they did. Because yeah, that is a thing as well. Like, you can't prove that you didn't use it, but I don't think that that's how it works. Because you have to prove that someone did something rather than the other way around. I don't know. It's weird. I'm gonna go get some more coffee or something else to drink real quick, and then I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and then we can come back with, I don't know, something else. I definitely need more caffeine in my system. It's 84 in the office, and honestly doesn't feel that bad because I got the fan right on me. But I'll be right back. Give me 2 minutes. Music. There we go. Just found out about this song yesterday, and it is banger, dude. It's stuck in my head because I keep listening to it on repeat. It's called Helldivers Never Die. Music's very loud, King. Yeah, I turned it up all the way while I was gone because, like, whatever way I can piss and shit in silence. It's fucking awesome power metal. So if you want some awesome power metal, let me see if I can find it on YouTube real quick. It's by Richard E.B. Helldivers 2 song, Helldivers Never Die by Richard E.B. and at Jonathan Music. I don't think that anyone has played this song aside from them. Like, I don't know where this song came from, but it's fucking rad as shit. Richard E.B. is really good. Oh. Oh, God, it was cold. FromSoft released a guide on where to find sacred tree fragments and shit because people are suck at the game so hard. I mean, like, literally telling players how to get good. I'm gonna skip that. We got done talking about Action Park, so now we're just doing coffee talk again. But we were looking into Action Park for a bit. Cold coffee with grounds in it was not a great taste, but hopefully it wakes me up some. It was the last of the coffee. But yeah. We got options on what we can do next. We could boot up like Roller Coaster Tycoon and try and make some awful rides. We could also just play some more RimWorld. I think that I skip out on Elden Ring for the first little bit. Open RCT, return to the pit. Because I've got some like Roller Coaster Tycoon game. Roller Coaster Rampage. Oh yeah, this is the one where you build the ride as you go. That one was kind of cool. Planet Coaster I've got still. My Summer Car. There is 2 votes for My Summer Car. RCT Soaked has water parks. 3rd for My Summer Car. Open RCT is free. You need RCT 2 though. I don't have that, so I can't do that. Why not just do the one that I've got, Planet Tycoon? Like, it's a perfectly fine game. I could provide you one. It should be fine. I mean, I don't want to... My mom wants to know your age. I'm 36 years old. Also, give your mom a hug. Can I just say that? Like, your mom is very involved in your life and cares about your life greatly, Cow Cannoli. You have no idea how lucky you are. I have a really good mom as well. A lot of people do not have good moms. Your mom seems to give a shit about you in general. Go hug your mom. My mom is not coming to visit anytime soon, but also I was going to say, I thought it was this week, but apparently it's next month. Would allow me to, or is when my father and mother-in-law are coming into town. And so we'll meet them here. Yeah, if you have a good mom, make sure you know it. I do miss my mom. Yeah, that's the thing, is that, like... Yeah, I don't know as if my folks will want to go back to Texas after they find out, but that's kind of why I want them to visit. Is I want them to come here. Because, like, my folks are really the only thing I miss about Texas aside from, I guess, the food, but there's really good food up here, too. It's just different food. We got, thank you, Ego. You didn't have to do that. It's just like, we already got it. All right, so this is the triple thrill pack, I guess. It was one of my favorites growing up. I mean, it should be a tiny little guy. All right, you got to set up Open RTC. Okay. So download it, I take it. Are you new? Read the quick start guide. Releases. Let's download this version. Do I want the ARM64 installer or the... Oh, that's like which version of Windows I've got. And I've got Windows, or whether or not you have a, what is it, 64-bit or the other version. I have 86, right, so I want the 86 installer. That's all that is. You want AMD 64. Right, I just got the 86 instead, not the 64. Grab the launcher under automatic updates. Yeah. I went to releases there and downloaded that. Chat says that I have 86. You most certainly have 64-bit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't have 32-bit. So why did I install this? Yeah, that's a 32-bit one. No, there is a 64-bit version. That was an option, just I was told not to install that one. I'll just grab that one instead then. The game was made in assembly. All right. So now let's read the actual instructions on how to do this. Quick start guide. Windows. Okay, you're on Windows. All you need to do is install it as you would do normally. Okay, and then what? Okay, so I've installed it as I would normally because it's on Steam. I installed it. Good. Okay, and then install it. When you launch it for the first time, you'll need to find the files. Okay. So install it. Next, I agree. Components to install that. Setup will install a folder. Let me go ahead and open up chat. Next. Installing. Did you hear about Hawk Tua girl and her dad response? What is this? Okay, it's a little fuck. I chose full screen. I'm not getting full screen yet. And it does do this. Which is a little bit not what I want. Full screen. Oh, there we go. That looks better. Okay, now what? Fuck the flag system set to lights. What are you talking about? Yeah, we're trying to fix this first. Those first three notes are switch to the RCT1. So I didn't even point this at the Steam folder. It just started working. Okay. You'll hate open close test flags, trust me. I don't know where that is to turn that off. You keep telling me to do that, but I don't see that, man. You just did it? Okay, cool. Okay. Also, this is still says I never hooked this to anything. So how does it know that I have this? Everything else is up to you? Okay, so now we can actually start. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the stream and bring it back. It defaults to Steam, so it just knows. The magic of default directories. All right, people on After Hours. I'm gonna turn off the thing. And we're gonna come back with Rev Action Park.